In learning Chok Israel for Parashat Vayakhel for Wednesday, we covered many different subjects. Maybe we'll just go through some of them. The Mishnah spoke about the responsibility of people, even within their own property, within their own apartment or their own field. They still have to be considerate what they do in their field, in their property, if it has an impact on their neighbors. For instance, the Mishnah tells us that when you dig a pit, when you dig a ditch, you have to make sure to stay away a certain number of inches away from the property or the pit of your neighbor, so that you would not have a negative impact on it. That you have to waterproof your pit so that there would not be seepage from your pit that go into the property of your neighbor. If you were to install an oven in your own property, you have to make sure, even in your own apartment, that the oven should stay far away from the ceiling, a space of 4 amot, which is 4 cubits, which would be approximately 72 inches from the neighbor's floor above, which is right next to your ceiling. In other words, stay away from the ceiling a certain distance, on and on. Many different examples are brought, even like, let's say, if you were to have a business such as a tannery, a place where you work skins of animals, that usually has a foul odor that comes from it. You have to situate it in a certain place in relation to the city, so that the wind would not bring the bad odor to impact the inhabitants of the city. If you were to have certain types of activity in your apartment, let's say you live in a building, a residential building, that you can be, you can be told by the neighbors, we don't agree that you have a business where people come in and out. It creates a lot of noise. People have difficulty maybe to sleep because of all the noise that you're making. So there is a whole series of examples that are given in terms of what you are allowed or not allowed to do, and what distance should you keep from the property of your neighbor, so that would be an acceptable distance, not to impact on the property or the quality of life of the neighbors next to you. That was in the Mishnah. The Gemara got involved in terms of, like, what about if you were to teach kids in your home Torah, and from the noise that they're making, would you be allowed? Are we making a distinction between certain activities that are permitted and certain activities that are not permitted? It goes into there, and then it goes into the idea of what is the maximum number of students in a classrooms that would be acceptable. And it brings the Rabbi Yoshua ben Gamla, who is the one that instituted that there should be classrooms, not just a father teaching his son, or not just in Jerusalem where there would be academies to teach, but rather in every city there should be schools, and schools should be responsible that the parents would take the kids to the schools, and in each classroom, the maximum number of students per classroom is 25 students. So that if you have 50 students, you would split it into 2 classrooms. But if you have between 25 and 50, you have more than 25 students, then the Rabbi teaching that class, the teacher teaching that class, should have a teacher's assistant to be there with him, to assist him in being able to teach those students, because up to 25, it's an acceptable number of students. Beyond 25, it's not acceptable. Then the Gemara got involved into, like, different teachers, and what if one teacher is able to cover a lot of ground but is not so particular in terms of the students being exact, vis-a-vis another teacher that every lesson that he teaches is very particular, but he doesn't cover a lot of ground. Which is better? It brings in different aspects. Are we able to correct the mistakes later? Or the final statement in the Gemara is, you have to be careful how you teach a student, because once you teach him in a certain way, it'll be very difficult to disabuse him from those mistakes that he's learned. So it's like a tree. If it grows crooked, it's going to be hard to make him straight. So we have to be particular in how we teach, even if we don't cover as much ground. So that's also one of the subjects that was approached in the Gemara. The Halakha Psuka spoke about what if a person, in praying the Amidah, he's not able to do the full text. For whatever reason, maybe he's in a place of danger and he wants to do the prayer very quickly, or he has to catch a train or a plane and he's going to miss it if he doesn't read quickly and he cannot be focused. The halakha gave us a shortened version of the Amidah, where the middle berachot, we have the first three and the last three, but the middle berachot, where there is a whole series of them, that are all condensed into one beracha, where very few words, 1, 2, or 3 words, stand for each full beracha, so that all the middle berachot, which is actually 13 berachot in the middle of the Amidah, are condensed into only one beracha. And then finally the Musar spoke about the great responsibility of a person who is in a position of authority, whether it's being a judge, a rabbinic judge, or a person who's a leader, that he has to be very careful how he makes his decisions, and to realize the responsibility that rests on his shoulders to make the right decisions, and to be very careful and very scrupulous. And the Musar closes by saying that the same way a person should try to emulate Hashem in terms of his virtues, in terms of his value, of his qualities. And if you have the qualities, just like Hashem, He's kind, He's merciful, there's humility also, all these good qualities. If you have those qualities, then accept authority to be able to have authority over others. And if not, if a person does not have all those good values and virtues and qualities, then it would be better that he doesn't accept the position of leadership. And he brings an example from King David, who in Tehillim, he says that his heart was not haughty, and then how he was humble, that he was like a child, and indicating the fact that he was very careful to have good qualities to be able to merit the position of authority of the king that he was. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen ve'amen.